All right, stand by. 10 seconds to
Camera
go.
one. Talent. Ready, camera.
And cue talent.
One.
Roll to record.
There's a debate over debates among Democrats. I'm John Phillips, and this is The Rundown. Democrats who support other candidates rather than Hillary Clinton have been arguing for months that the DNC's schedule of relatively few debates late in the game, on days and at times when few people will be watching, is designed more as a coronation for Hillary than a vigorous attempt to pick the best candidate. The outrage boiled over at the New Hampshire Democratic Party convention, where Democratic National Committee Chairwoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz was heckled and even booed by Democrats who want the debate schedule changed. Let's go ahead and take a look.
We are going to have a debate again right here in New Hampshire in December. I'm ready to debate with you. Just the other day, at a campaign event in Rochester, Trump was at it again. One of his supporters in the audience called President Obama a Muslim. My friends, what's more important, drawing a contrast with Republicans or arguing about debates?
Well, according to that crowd, arguing about debates, little Debbie. Hillary's email scandal continues to bubble with new revelations coming out almost every single day, but her campaign seems to be finding its footing. She started going after drug companies in the Keystone XL pipeline, and her numbers are surprisingly going up. According to a poll conducted by CNN ORC on September 4th through the 8th, she had a 10-point lead over Sanders, 37% to 27%. In the latest poll conducted September 17th through the 19th, she's almost doubled that lead, beating the Vermont senator 42% to 24%. Will anti-Hillary Democrats get more debates? Should they? Or is the Hillary coronation still on track? To explore this question and much, much more, we're joined by PJTV contributor and author Scott Ott, and here in Los Angeles, stand-up comic and PJTV contributor Stephen Cruiser. Let's go ahead and start with you.
Let's do.
I've always thought that a good, vigorous debate and a good, vigorous primary is good to get a candidate ready to go in the general. Because if a candidate is untested and you don't have people looking into their past, you don't have people testing their abilities in a debate type of situation or in a long campaign season, that you could be caught flat-footed when it really matters. Is that what are they trying to change the game there? Are they trying to say, you know what, we think Hillary, we saw her campaign in 2008, she's fine, let's just go ahead and clear the field, let's just get through that, she's already done it once before, she's got her ticket?
No, in the television era, since Dick Nixon, there hasn't been a candidate worse in front of the camera than Hillary Clinton. Nobody wears worse in front of a crowd than Hillary Clinton. They know that. They originally only scheduled 4 debates. They've upped that to 6 now, I think. And they really want to keep her as insulated as possible. That's why you're roping the press off. That's why they've got the plants. That's why everything with her is very, very managed to limit her exposure. Because we've seen her. When left to her own devices, she becomes imperious, dismissive. She is not personable at all. The campaign is right now running 35-year-old pictures to make her seem more relatable. They won't run. They're not running pictures of her right now. They're running all these old pictures. They're insisting that she's real because she's just horrible in front of a crowd. So they really, really, really need to keep that to a minimum here.
This really is a Hillary re-election bid here, isn't it, Scott? Because if you look at the Democratic Party primary process, they don't just have caucuses and primaries. They have all these super delegates that Hillary already has wrapped up. So Hillary could theoretically lose in a bunch of states and then go out and still win this thing because she has the party elites behind her. And if the party elites don't give her opponents the opportunity to go out and make their case to the regular voters, then she even decreases their chances of winning those primaries that she's worried about.
You're right, and she enjoys all the advantages of incumbency. She is the presumptive nominee, and the only person who can be hurt by increasing the number of debates is the presumptive nominee. I mean, Martin O'Malley and Bernie Sanders and whoever else is running against Hillary Clinton, if there is anyone else, possibly Joe Biden, all of them will benefit by more TV time, and frankly, as Cruiser pointed out, by the more Hillary Clinton is in front of the camera trying to handle off-the-cuff questions, the better it is for all of her opponents. And so, the Debbie Wasserman Schultz and the DNC organization are desperately trying to do everything they can to protect their presumptive nominee from that. And Debbie was on with Jake Tapper on his show and kept reiterating that, well, these candidates, they really need time to go out and do the grassroots politicking. And that's why we don't want to schedule a bunch more debates, so they can go out and shake hands, and eat snow cones with voters. When Tapper pointed out, well, the last presidential debate had 24 million viewers. You can reach a couple of voters that way, too.
Here's the risk. I don't think the Democratic Party elites will allow Bernie Sanders to be the nominee. If it looks like Hillary's in serious trouble, what they're going to do is they're going to draft a Joe Biden or a John Kerry or an Al Gore to jump in the race and then fully fund that particular campaign. Because they don't have many debates, if the tide turns against Hillary at the wrong time for her, and you get some new guy who is electable that jumps in at the last minute, I could see a scenario where she gets caught flat-footed yet again.
Oh, easily. And although they won't let Bernie Sanders be the nominee, he is the one who's going to force that scenario.
Yes.
That's exactly how that's going to play out. The Biden stories still aren't going away. There was a rumor that his wife Jill didn't want him to be in the presidential race. That's been kind of debunked now too. She's saying that she's okay with it right now. And even though he hasn't jumped in, he hasn't said no. And it's a big not saying no thus far. The fact that he's still hanging around. So I think he is not plan B, he's plan A minus right now for them. And I think they're seriously looking at that. And she could, because she really is a woman without accomplishment. So there's really nothing for her to run on here other than I deserve it. It's my turn. And no, that's the Republican thing. That's not a model that works well for the Democrats, okay? That's what the GOP has been doing for 30 years. That's not their thing, and it's not working out well for them.
And if you look at her numbers, Scott, her numbers are good when no one's talking about her. When we're focusing on the Super Bowl, we're focusing on some other big event, we're focusing on summer vacation. But when she's out doing a book tour, or she's out giving press conferences or interviews, her numbers just go in the toilet. Ever since her last little dust up in the state of Nevada, where she was wearing that orange pantsuit and she was asked about the server and she was talking about wiping it clean, when her numbers totally tanked, she's tried to keep a low profile. She's gone on TV shows like Ellen, she did The Tonight Show. She's not doing the serious interviews like she was when her numbers started to go down. She's showing the lighter, more friendly side of Hillary. But if you have a serious debate schedule, it's not the lighter Hillary, it's the Hillary that causes her numbers to go down.
Absolutely. And in fact, I will take issue with in your introduction to the program, you suggested that her coming out hard against Big Pharma and her coming out against the Keystone XL pipeline may have been some factor in her increase in the polls or improvement in the polls. I don't think it's that. I think it's the Jimmy Fallon bump. Her appearance on Jimmy Fallon was probably the best thing she's done in this campaign, because Fallon is, and I love the guy, but he's a fawning interviewer. All he wants to do is make his guests look good, and he made Hillary Clinton look good.
How long can she stay off Meet the Press and Face the Nation and all the serious Sunday shows?
Well, if we're basing it on the previous presidential candidate for the Democrats until the election. You remember Barack Obama just did local radio, the entertainment shows, everything else. So, I mean, they get a free pass on that. There won't be a hue and cry for, oh, she's got to get on Meet the Press. She can stay off of that. But I think one of the big things in this is, as Scott mentioned, the press isn't completely on board with this. I mean, her Keystone XL thing, after saying it would be inappropriate to take a stance on it, she finally decided to come out against it, make Tom Steyer happy. But she did it as the Pope was landing. Okay, she tried to do it as a news dump, sneaking it in behind the Pope. Even NPR called her out on it. I wrote about it the other night at on the PJ Tatler. So they're noticing these things. They're talking about the email still. My feeling that the press really doesn't want her there is what makes this kind of untenable for her, because the Democrats are all about having the press in lockstep with them.
Okay, last question before we go. Scott, we'll start with you. How big of an issue is the email scandal going to be in the Democratic debates?
I think it'll be huge, and it'll be relentless, not only from the moderators, but from her fellow candidates. They're going to keep coming after her. It just doesn't make any sense. It's now turned out, and the latest news that I've heard is that the FBI has actually been able to access possibly tens of thousands of these emails that she previously wiped or thought she had wiped from her server because they were just of a personal nature. Well, it doesn't make any sense to do that if there was nothing wrong with those emails. Why would you wipe them off of there? And they only need to find a few emails that give us a fuller understanding of what happened that night of 9/11 with Benghazi, or have her talking to her colleagues about what they can do to position her better. They only have to come up with a few emails that were accessed by foreign governments because she was using this homebrew server. This is a major problem for her, and it's not going to go away.
Who's going to bring it up? The moderators, Bernie, Jim Webb?
I think this time the moderators might actually do it because I keep reading about all of this in the New York Times. I'm not reading about it on conservative blogs.
Which David Brock has attacked.
I'm reading about it in the New York Times and the Washington Post. So I think there's a chance that the moderators may actually bring it up this time.
All right, that's all the time we have for today, but now it's your turn. Should the Democrats have more debates? Tell us what you think in the comment section below. I'm John Phillips. Thanks so much for watching The Rundown.